I'm Vin.
I'm sorry.
That's Booby.
And Jelpy and Ghosty.
Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds featuring Kylie Minogue. Where the Wild Roses Grow. Murder Ballads is the name of the record. For time and topical political commentary, you can hit us up in Middle America with Vin and Sorry. By the time you're watching this,
No, it's done now.
it's done now. Okay, so there are multiple ways to get your song reviewed, dear listener. One is my favorite way, which is the alliance angle. $1 at the gate at Patreon gets you in. You get sucked into the subculture, all that jazz. Then they pull you down into the rabbit hole. The alliances are basically like genre specific, so you're able to kind of find like-minded people that are. There's going to be a higher possibility that your song will get reviewed if you can convince your alliance to present it to us. Okay, so that's the first one, $1 at the gate. The second way is the partner tier, which is the $125, where you can skip right to the head of the line, like what do you call it, the fast pass at Disney. You skip right to the head of the line, and then of course there's email, Facebook, Twitter, all that jazz. And once we burn through what we owe people in February, then we'll be able to be freed up to do other reviews. Okay. This is where the world. Nick Cave. I'm working on getting an interview with Nick Cave because he's coming to Boston. So I'm trying to find a way to do that. So fingers crossed. If anybody knows anybody inside the Nick Cave world, send them our way. Also on did you put up the thing with Dorian's haircut? Yeah.
Babe, I was trying to work on it, but somebody took my computer.
Okay. Oh boy.
You can't even say that. I stayed back. I didn't even go shopping so I could edit.
I didn't say a word.
And then when I didn't even finish my editing, you came in and I went down and started cooking for you when I came up after
So we posted a lot of behind the scenes stuff on Patreon.
Did we though?
Sweeten the pot for you. Yeah, all the workout stuff and the conversations and things like that. So if you're on Patreon, keep looking out because we're going to be dropping a whole bunch of things there to sweeten the pot for you guys. Okay, Kylie Minogue, Nick Cave. Let's do it.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
Go.
It's the same lyrics. Okay, we got it. The snake. brutal.
Yeah.
So it looks like the guy, love at first sight. First time he took her, it was all good. Second time he took her, it was all good. Then he kills her and says all beauty must die. And then the story concludes. You seem very disturbed.
I am because, like, first of all, I don't know if this is based on anything of a true story, but there's just so many stories of innocence and beauty. And, like, when I say beauty, I don't just mean, like, physically, objectively beautiful, but just, like, women have a certain, I don't know.
Just say it.
Sweetness. Like, there's a certain something that, like, women have that's different from what men have.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, the Bible talks about the women being the weaker vessel, and I know that that makes people angry to think of women being weaker than men, but if you can celebrate it, it's different than... It makes me sad when I think that, you know, people have used their strength against women for generations.
Yeah.
And that we have so many young women and older women, I guess, just no longer with us because someone put their hands on them. And, yeah, that's just a... And then, you know, like, we were watching that documentary, and that guy he specifically chose to hurt girls that were kind. Like, he would go around asking for people to help them.
Yeah.
Help him. And then when somebody would help him, that was who he picked to kill. And I'm like, that's awful. And so it's bothersome to know that, I don't know. I spent all my time with you, and, like... I don't worry that you're gonna use your strength against me or hit me or anything like that. That, like, it's never ever... You might be the only man that I wasn't afraid of that with. I don't know. Maybe that's an exaggeration. But I know women that have been abused. I know women that have been in situations that they couldn't get themselves out of in enough time, and then bad things happened, and I don't know. It's just sad. Do you know if this is based on anything true?
I'm not sure. Sounds urban legend-ish type of thing, but it's Nick Cave, so he's a... Yeah, it's you know, there's that principle of the, you know, the minute that you pick a rose, it dies. Mm-hmm. Right? And so I think that was probably the point of the rose metaphor. Was that statement, is that once you pick a rose, then you've now guaranteed its expiration. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you truly love the rose, you'd leave it where it is and just admire its beauty and let it flourish where it is. Yeah. And I do think that there is some weird thing about human nature. You know, that there's a whole story of in the Old Testament where the guy, he's attracted very physically to his half sister. Yep. Amnon. He's heavily attracted to his half sister, and he's portrayed as an evil bastard, and he gets what's coming to him. Spoiler, but he goes and rapes his sister, and then it says right after he was done, it said the same love that he had for her became hatred, like that, and so, like, that's kind of it's something that I've noticed a lot. With men and how they handle their sexuality, you know, myself included, yada, yada, yada. Where it's like, you know, where does that flip come from because of your, you know... And the line, all beauty must die, is an interesting line because it makes me think of... There is a sense in which, because of entropy, like Eliza Day was not going to be that way forever. Yeah. And I think the point is, like, in some twisted mind, it's kind of like him saying, if you're beautiful, you have to die here so that you will be basically forever locked up as a beautiful person in my mind because you're not seeing her progressively get less beautiful. You know, like, this is the thing with Kobe, right, where he talked about it. He said he was going to die young, or he wanted to die young or something like that. So now there's no snapshot in your mind of a Kobe Bryant in a wheelchair or... you know, becoming senile or anything like that. Like, he's stuck in this sort of prime human beauty. which of course beauty isn't that much of a primer on men as much as women, but you see the idea. Like, I think his idea was, if I kill her now, then I'll never have any snapshots of her where age becomes a factor. So beauty must die in a world where beauty is going to fade. I think his point is, it's kind of like the basketball player who said, I will retire before my skills start diminishing.
Yeah.
Which actually was Kobe's statement. Was he would rather, and then there's some people that are like, like Vince Carter's in the league pretty much as long as Kobe was, and he's still playing, and his skills have obviously diminished, and he didn't care. So I think that line right there was a very interesting line. All beauty must die, and then he kneels down and plants a rose between her teeth, and I think again that's a metaphorical import of, if you truly admired the rose for its beauty, you'd leave it alone.
Yeah. There was I don't know, maybe it's going to be difficult to see how this pertains, but so I was on a forum, and this guy posted, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it was a lot. He's like, men are naturally the direct image of the Heavenly Father. He hates rebellion, so naturally we hate rebellion. We are his image and likeness, and the woman is of us. Only a simp would approve of rebellious nature in a woman, whether courting or marriage. No one can convince me if you are a loud-mouthed and disrespectful before marriage that you will be humble and quiet, calm spirit if you are on a simple piece of paper under a covenant. There is no sign of preparation for the man who selected you to feel secure in locking you and himself down. I say this because it explains why so many beautiful sisters physically are single. It is helping to create disorder in potential households, and he just goes on. And it was so, annoying to me because I hate that, well, of course I cooked with jalapenos tonight, and, it's in the air, I think. So I obviously brought the verses to him that Genesis 1:26 and 27 says, male and female both were created in the image of God. Women, we were not created in the image of man. Right. We were created in the image of God. Right. And then he quoted a verse from Corinthians, that woman is the glory of man. And I was like, yes, the glory. And then I went in to talk about how God, the same word that's used as a woman being the helper of a man, is the same word that God used of himself and Israel, and how he was their help. So, but I just hate when you see, people using their power or their strength against somebody else. That goes for adults against kids, or popular people against unpopular people. Right. Any sort of power dynamic is just really disgusting to me when you use that power dynamic for evil. And so it's just very troublesome to me. And there's different things that I've seen over the years of women. Remember we had seen that thing about the kids that were being molested by the priests, and more than just the priests in the town, those girls, and that nun got involved, and then she wound up dead, and it's just so troublesome to sometimes the manner in which they were killed. You know what I mean? She's on this, not this one, but on the side of the road, they have no clothes, and it's so they were abused to the degree and then killed, and I just think that that's so horrible, Yeah.
Yeah, and, that's the other side of the all beauty must die if you take a less poetic stance on it, which is when a man is with a very, very beautiful woman, he feels, a lot of them do, there's a lot that don't, but there's a lot that do, feel very threatened by that beauty, the beauty of the person that they're with, because now she's got other options, and there's not really a way to control them. Because they're beautiful, so there's other people who would love to, scoop them up. Because it's one of the things abusers tell you is that you'll never find somebody, blah, 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 blah. But you generally cannot do that with a beautiful woman. So, in that sense, also, all beauty must die in the sense of, if I'm not going to have you, nobody's going to have you type of thing. It's just very interesting, from the first day I saw her, I knew she was the one. She stared in my eyes and smiled. Her lips were the color of roses that grew down the river, all bloody and wild. That's very, very good foreshadow.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, considering how the song ends up.
I think, let me throw this in there too. When she kept saying, they call me the Wild Rose, but my name was Eliza Day. That was sad too, because that's what a lot of times happens to women, is their identity kind of gets stripped away from them. And so she becomes this story, or this, I don't know, this idea, instead of
Yeah.
They call her the Wild Rose, and then it's a story instead of like she was an actual person. And whether or not this was actually a true story, that happens all the time. You know, like you hear these horrible stories about women, and then it's like, I mean, even with that serial killer, I don't even want to say his name, but like he was targeting women, and then it's like other women couldn't see through that.
Right.
Like they were being sucked away by his, and I hate it when women don't stick together.
Well, but then if you look at verse 2, he knocked on my door and entered the room. My trembling subsided in his sure embrace. He would be my first man, and with a careful hand he wiped the tears that rained down my face. So a lot of guys have the algorithm figured out.
Yeah.
That many women, one of their primary values is stability and security, and if you can combine that with some compassion, you're going to do very, very well.
Yeah.
No matter what you look like or how much money you earn or don't earn. I remember figuring that out because, you know, I was competing with drug dealers and all that, and I was not a drug dealer, and I was not a glamorous gangster, and I wasn't, you know, whatever. But it's kind of a, you know, I had a pretty, I don't want to say harsh, but strident discussion with the girls yesterday. And just being a father and
They
knowing
loved that discussion.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. Sayla was like, what's on the agenda tomorrow? I really need some time with Mr. Ben.
But it's a scary thing, you know, knowing that this is such a high value for girls.
Yep.
You know, and then
Yeah, and
then guys being able to manipulate that, maybe not necessarily even killing them by a river, but just doing it anyway and killing their soul because, you know, they're all used up and whatever. But what were you going to say?
And, you know, when you have stories and not just, I mean, there's like Disney stories, but that's not the only type of stories. Like most movies or shows that you watch that are like geared for like younger people, there's a lot of like falling in love and like here comes the guy, the knight in shining armor, you know, and stuff like that. And so it kind of like can set up a woman's mind to be like, because everybody has issues, everybody has stuff that they're going to deal with
100%.
And so then she starts thinking, well, he's going to fix this, I gotta find somebody that's going to fix this, he's going to make me feel not lonely, or he's going to maybe take away my depression, or he's going to, so you start looking for a god.
Right.
And then you find yourself a man, and then sometimes the lines can get crossed, and then you're in deeper than you realized.
Yeah. And you know, he obviously seized on it, and you know, on the second day came with a single red rose. He said, give me your loss and your sorrow. I nodded my head as I lay on the bed. If I show you the roses, will you follow? And that's when he leads her to the stream or whatnot. But, you know, the insidious thing about this is none of this stuff is inappropriate, even from a biblical perspective. It's not wrong. It's not wrong to want to look to your husband or your boyfriend for security. Like, that's not wrong. And emotional support and things like that. Like, none of those are wrong. And I don't even think this lady had the chance, really, to work her way out of this relationship, obviously, because she ended up dead. So that's the insidious nature of things, is that, you know, if the guy was smacking her around and all the rest of it, then you can tell your daughters, look, this guy's smacking. But, man, the psychological stuff, especially for issues that are valid, is, I mean, you know, you want to look at it from an evolutionary perspective, you know, back in the day when we were cavemen, you know, the girls were basically relying on the guy to fight off the wildebeest and fight off the other clan, and so the desire for security is a massive female value. It's a massive value, and especially now, I would have been able to do to my shame, I'd have been able to do a lot more damage now than when I was in high school, because there's all this, we're all exactly the same, you know, there's no real differences between women and men and yada yada yada. So there's lots of guys that haven't even been able to master that because they're believing the silliness that we're just like exactly the same, only with different plumbing. That's just not the case. It's just not true. And so any dude that figures it out, and if he's a bad guy, then things get, you know, can become extremely edgy and scary. So, unfortunate situation, but it looked real life. Hold on. I think I gotta get a door. Yeah,
We're
so
back.
trying to warn the girls and things like that. It's really, really scary as a dad, you know, like when I'm talking to the boys, it's also scary, but different reasons. You know, I don't want them to be the guy that can read that.
Right.
and
if you can read it,
and
don't
misuse
do that.
right,
Yeah.
and misuse it, you know, use that for evil.
Right.
So I'm gonna hope this wasn't a true story, because the name of the record is Murder Ballads, right? So I just think it's maybe a precautionary
Yeah,
tale.
no, I get that. It's just, but to me, it represents all the times that these things have happened.
Right.
You know, this
That's
is a real thing.
That's what cautionary tales do, right? Is it kind of
So it's just.
What do you give it?
You know what? I'm going to silent count this one and shout out to all the ladies that have been in horrible situations, the ones that survived out of those situations and are making good on their life now, the ones that didn't survive, like them as well, and just women everywhere. Like, we are a special, special thing, and I think that sometimes that gets overlooked, and I think that people can overlook it in themselves.
Yeah.
So, so it's a silent count for me,
And this obviously does not militate against the idea that these things happen vice versa. They do. You know, the whole Black Widow phenomenon. So they absolutely do. We're just focusing on that for this song's sake, because that's the point of the song. But
and I think that it's a lot more. I think it happens way more to women than it does to men.
Yeah, that's indisputable. These are just facts. Facts. Okay, I'm gonna silent count this as well. Tough stuff. Then out.
Sorry out.
Gone.